Conservative star Senator Tom Cotton firing off a series of scathing tweets this morning, lambasting the GOP's Obamacare replacement bill and sparking this response from the White House. Watch.
When the House passes it and it goes over to the Senate, I'm sure Senator Cotton and other senators will have an opportunity to have their say. This bill will land on the president's desk. He will sign it. We will repeal Obamacare and we'll put into place a system that will be patient-centered.
Senator Cotton not the only vocal critic of the replacement bill. Here's a libertarian icon, Senator Rand Paul, earlier today as well.
Well, I don't think this is going to be an easy passage with the Obamacare light provisions in it. And so I think every time the speaker goes on television and say, oh, it's a slam dunk, we have the votes, I just don't think that's accurate. There's a great deal of dissension on replacement. There's a great deal of unity on repeal. And there are a lot of people who elected us 2010 the House, 2014 the Senate, now the White House, who will be unhappy if we do partial repeal or if we
Joining me now, Adriana Cohen, Lisa Booth, and Rachel Campos Duffy. Let me start with you, Lisa. Spicer saying, hey, nice to see you in studio. Spicer saying Obama repeal bill will land on the president's desk. He will sign it. It sounded like Rand Paul also saying no matter what, something is going to be pushed through. Is that the overarching message we should know right now?
Well, I think we'll see. I mean, look, you're a numbers guy, right? And this is a numbers-driven game. And so for leadership right now, they're looking at sort of the balance between, if you look at the House, so Paul Ryan can only have 21 defectors in the House. Otherwise, the bill will not pass, right? So there's about 30 members of the House Freedom Caucus. So that's something that he needs to be looking at and moving the bill forward in the House. However, if you look at the Senate, I think there's about 8 different senators that are on the fence. Obviously, you showed Senator Tom Cotton, Senator Rand Paul as well. But there's also moderate senators who have concerns about rolling back Medicaid as well. And so they can only have 2 defectors in the Senate. So I think it's going to get really interesting, really dicey in trying to weigh both what conservatives are saying, also those moderates in the Senate, when you really can't have that many defectors, particularly in the Senate.
Right. And Rachel, of course, today, when Paul Ryan made his presentation, if you will, I thought the best part of it was the last line. This is the best and maybe the last chance that the Republicans will actually have a chance to get rid of Obamacare. Is that essentially the message?
It is. And remember, some of these people, some of these congressmen and senators, they'll be voting with Democrats against this bill, which will essentially end, as Paul Ryan said, the very last chance they have to repeal this. My understanding is that healthcare is like an aircraft carrier. It takes a while to turn this thing. They have 3 different buckets. They can do some of this through reconciliation. Then the next bucket is the stuff that Dr. Tom Price can do from his position at Health and Human Services. And then in the third bucket, they'll deal with a bunch of other stuff, including tort reform. And that there's a bridge here. And I think that when your last guest, it was interesting. They talk so much about the numbers, and the numbers are important. But there are people that if you don't do it the way that Paul Ryan is saying we do it in these stages, there are people that will get hurt without this bridge. And so I look at that and I go, yes, it's conservative to care about the numbers, but it's also conservative to care about the families that will be hurt if we don't do this in a way to make sure that we protect them during this transition from Obamacare to a more free market healthcare
any
system.
Version, any repeal better than what we have now? Is that what we're talking about? Sort of, we keep hearing now a binary choice. We know that, we know what that means, but it also might mean that what we end up with is not necessarily what voters thought they were going to get.
Well, I can tell you it's already a significant improvement because Obamacare was a disaster. Not enough people are talking about is Obamacare is the biggest job killer in the country. And so what I already like about Paul Ryan or the GOP plan, if you want to call it that, is that it removes the employer mandate. So right now, that's going to help hundreds of thousands of part-time employees move back to full-time because this was, a stranglehold around so many employers that they couldn't create.
Be careful what I think your hair is hitting the microphone, Adriana.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, but let me real quick. Sorry about that, but.
I had to watch the hair flips.
real quick though, the last stage though, you will need Democrats, right? That's where you need 60 votes. And that's, Rachel mentioned tort reform. That's also when you get the pulls when individuals can cross state lines. Do you think if they can get through these first two major hurdles, they'll have enough momentum to get these Democrats, particularly those in states that Trump won, to come over?
I don't know, but I mean, I think that's what's getting lost in this conversation as well, is there's only so much you can do in the reconciliation process. Are they doing as much as they can within that process? Probably not, but you can't do things like selling across state lines or tort reform in this because Republicans don't have a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. So you have to, do something that's going to get those 52 votes in the process. So there's limitations with what you can do.
Let's leave it there. Coming up, he wrote The Art of the Deal, but, they say the secret to success in Washington, D.C.